Coming up on the Angus Report, the USDA earmarks $12 billion in relief for farmers and ranchers.
Immigration has been a hotly contested issue in D.C. We give you a legislative update.
And the American Angus Association and Angus Genetics Incorporated recently launched a survey to help rebuild Angus Dollar Value Indexes. Don't miss your chance to take the survey and share your opinion.
This is the Angus Report.
Welcome to the Angus Report. I'm Clint Mefford.
And I'm Bob Cervera. Today, we're talking about a $12 billion assistance plan for farmers and ranchers.
Allie Ludy has more.
At the end of July, USDA Chief Sonny Perdue announced a $12 billion assistance plan for farmers and ranchers who have been impacted by foreign tariffs on agriculture commodities. Dr. Rob Johansson, USDA's chief economist, was on a phone call announcing the program and explains the three-pronged approach.
This program is intended to offset the trade damage that we've seen facing our farmers in a number of commodities. There are three tranches to this program. So let's just start with the first one. As the Secretary pointed out, we've got a market facilitation program, and that's going to provide payments directly to producers of soybean, sorghum, corn, wheat, cotton, dairy, and hogs. We've got another program that's called the Food Purchase and Distribution Program, and that's going to seek to go out and purchase additional surplus that we're seeing as a result of these illegal tariff actions for commodities like fruits, nuts, rice, legumes, beef, pork, and milk for distribution to our nutrition programs and food banks. And lastly, as the Secretary pointed out, we're looking to extend and find new markets, develop new markets out there with the assistance of the private sector, and that will not just be targeted to one commodity or another. It's going to be essentially looking to build our markets globally and domestically.
USDA's Trade Counsel to the Secretary, Jason Halfmeister, and USDA Undersecretary for Marketing and Regulatory Programs, Greg Eibach, explained why the USDA initiated the assistance plan.
The administration's action has brought new leverage to the table, and we are seeing countries getting more attention than ever in terms of addressing our trade concerns. So that's certainly the objective here, is reform in foreign country policy. We think this is a helpful tool for that.
This will provide some hope to farmers and ranchers that there is the President and the Secretary do have their back. We hope that it will allow time to conclude trade negotiations that will indeed open those markets and restart trade.
Not everyone's thrilled about the program, however. Conservative groups like the Heritage Foundation and several lawmakers were critical of the aid. USDA's Assistant Deputy Administrator for Farm Programs, Brad Carman, responded to that criticism.
This is providing relief to U.S. farmers as they face unwarranted trade retaliation. We know that there's a good amount, 11% or more of employment in the U.S. is coming from agriculture and agricultural industries. That includes a lot of food manufacturers. We know that a lot of producers are facing tough times with respect to farm income. And we know that producers are facing a lot of damage from these retaliatory impacts that they weren't planning for, they weren't expecting. These programs are being deliberately put together in order to allow us to respond to these unwarranted trade retaliations.
The multi-billion-dollar program does not require congressional approval and will move forward with or without the support of lawmakers. Meanwhile, USDA officials still have many details to finalize before rolling out the program by Labor Day.
Immigration has been a hot topic in the news for several months now. The agriculture industry relies on immigrant workers as a labor source, and many farmers and ranchers are looking for a solution to the red tape that immigrant and temporary agricultural workers face. Congress has debated the issue for months to no avail. Sarah Wyant, editor and founder of AgriPulse Communications, shares her insights after decades of experience working in the agriculture policy space.
So one of the things that's become increasingly apparent throughout farm country, it's not just in the coastal regions and fruits and vegetables, it's on ranches, it's on dairies, it's on just everyday pork operations, is that we don't have enough people who are willing to do those jobs. So the need to have a process for a legal labor force for rural America is crucial. And if we can't get that done through Congress, which looks increasingly problematic because there's so much diversity of opinion, then the administration has pledged that they will work for ways to find access for workers to come in legally.
There is no clear authority when it comes to agriculture immigration workers. However, Wyant says the USDA could guide the conversation.
USDA has suggested that they might be the lead agency and that they would perhaps administer a program where people could come in and register and be certified to go work on farms. But the Congress, especially in the House of Representatives, keeps trying to pass an immigration bill right now, and they're really struggling. They need to have a border wall in order to get President Trump's approval. They want to have a legal pathway for more people to come in to not only work on farms, but work on a lot of different companies where there's labor shortages in this country. And they really want to make sure that there is a solution to some of these border issues that we're watching on the news every day, with children coming in, some with their parents, some without. So we all know there's issues, but finding a solution has been very elusive.
Recently, House Republicans decided to keep the agriculture labor bill off the floor before August recess. This only prolongs the farm worker shortage.
Last month, a tornado swept through central Iowa, devastating both farmers and ranchers in the area. The severe weather also flattened Vermeer Manufacturing in Pella, Iowa. The industrial and agricultural manufacturing company took a direct hit, affecting its future production. Plants 4, 7, and the Advanced Systems Training Facility need a structural assessment. Meanwhile, plants 5 and 6 had significant damage, and the waste management facility was completely lost. Approximately 2,700 employees were evacuated, but there were also hundreds of dealers and customers on the premises. The guests were there to celebrate Vermeer's 70th anniversary. All visitors were evacuated to safety, and all employees are accounted for with no serious or life-threatening injuries. On Monday, July 24th, the facilities reopened and the company began to rebuild. We're thankful to hear that the people at Vermeer are continuing to be Vermeer strong while they move forward in their rebuilding efforts. More information can be found at vermeer.com. Stay tuned. The Angus Report will be back after this. Welcome back to the Angus Report. Angus Genetics Incorporated is working to rebuild the Angus Dollar Value Indexes.
To do the job right, AGI teamed up with Abacus Bio, a New Zealand-based agricultural science consulting company, to get industry input. Rachel Robinson has more.
Have you ever wished you could have your say in the dollar value indexes? Well, now is your chance. The American Angus Association and Angus Genetics Incorporated recently launched a survey that is a critical component to rebuild Angus dollar value indexes. AGI updates economic factors annually, but the base models behind the dollar values are now 14 years old and remain relatively unchanged since 2004.
At Angus Genetics, when we looked to rebuild these dollar values, we thought about who we're going to need to bring in expertise and who should that be and who can we partner with. And we chose Abacus Bio in New Zealand. Dr. Jason Archer is with us here today from Abacus. They're basically world-renowned in the development of economic indexes and their expertise in this area.
So I'm over here to try and understand the industry and pick up on the issues that your industry has. And Angus Genetics has been very good in terms of organising a bit of a tour with Dr. Dan Moser and Dr. Steve Miller, just having a look at the industry and making sure we listen to them and listen to the messages as to what they feel for each of their parts of the industry that they need in terms of an index and their genetic requirements and the directions that they need to go in.
So on our tour, I thought it was quite interesting and insightful to talk to people involved in the feedlot industry and packing industry, and also on cow-calf seed stock side. And at the moment, we have multiple dollar values related to all those segments independently. But what's the challenge, I guess, for the industry when we want to make progress and satisfy all those markets?
So one thing observed on our tour was that your industry is incredibly segmented, or very segmented, and people are very good at what they do. Feedlotters, packers, they've got the numbers at their fingertips, they have a very finely tuned system, they're using trading tools, they're very good at what they do. The challenge, I think, is that they want slightly different things from what the cow-calf person wants. So, for example, feedlot and packers, they want growth, they want pounds of carcass weight, whereas the cow-calf person is saying, we want to make sure that we don't let our cows get too large so that we can't feed them, and that impacts on the fertility. The feedlot and packers say, we want more muscle and less fat. The cow-calf people are saying, we need to keep a little bit of fat in these females so that they can handle the tough times. So that's a real tension between the two parts of the industry, and really what it comes down to is balance, because Angus genetics are in all parts of those industries. So we need to actually balance those traits economically and produce the best combination for the industry going forward. So the key thing is with these indexes is that we need to produce the right balance between what happens in the cow herd and what happens in the feedlot and in the packers. So whether there is a balanced index, and that might be presented still as a dollar weaned and a dollar beef or something similar to that, but the most important thing is that we're working on getting the balance right.
Why is member engagement so important, and why is it so important to get this feedback from the industry?
Well, any index is only useful if it's used. Rather than have a scientist sitting in an office, it's actually really important to make sure that the index is giving the breeders what they want in terms of direction and is responsive to the signals that they give us. So it's really important that we engage with the industry in doing this, and that is assisted enormously by the survey, but it's also from having some conversations as well, from listening, and from all the experience that Angus Genetics has in terms of talking to producers along the way. So by doing that, we can help mould the index to be something that people will be happy to use.
Now is your chance as breeders to have your say. Voice your opinion and complete the survey, and encourage your commercial customers to do the same. Respondents will be entered in a drawing for a $250 Cabela's gift card. Go to angus.org to complete the 30-minute survey.
Certified Angus Beef's Paul Dykstra says feeder cattle marketing has come a long way.
But how can it continue to improve? Find out after a break.
Paul Dykstra is a beef cattle specialist with Certified Angus Beef. According to Dykstra, feeder cattle marketing has come a long way, but there's still room for improvement. He offers his suggestions.
Marketing calves today seems less related to the traditional handshake, observation, and trust, but relationships are still important.
Well, we've certainly had an opportunity to introduce technology to feeder cattle marketing, which has made the platform in which we do business much more rapid. And as a result, I think marketing has become less personalized and simply more based on convenience and volume and a very limited amount of time that we offer a lot of cattle for sale.
Although buyers might not find enough details, the internet, video, and cell phone alerts help them find cattle that fit commodity needs.
Those are all very positive, but at the same time, it can still be very difficult to know which cattle actually have value based on the genetic inputs and the management at the ranch that the producers are putting in. So we need to clarify those things better in the future.
Dykstra says new and developing info technology lets sellers share details on expected progeny differences, or EPDs, in context.
Sharing more than simply the source of the genetics, for instance, but actually helping to quantify what the numbers really mean by using percentile ranks for EPDs and dollar value indexes, for instance, of the bulls that sired the cattle, I think would help the buyer to be reassured that there's more value in a set of calves.
Along with nutrition and health details, that kind of information not only assures accurate pricing, it also allows accurate feeding to bring out the best in the cattle. As much as greater detail helps, it won't replace the human connections.
I think the best opportunity to merchandise feeder cattle and build a brand for a cow-calf operation is simply those personal relationships. It may sound too simple, but in my experience, those relationships pay off far more than any word of mouth or advertising that might be done. Certainly more than what can be written on paper is a reputation of trustworthiness and a quality product from one human to another is almost priceless.
For the Angus Report, I'm Bob Cervera.
Visit blackinkWithCAB.com and Angus.org for more information. We'll be back with the Angus Report after this.
Jose Miranda lives the American dream each day at the Ty Bar Ranch in Carbondale, Colorado. His story began in Venezuela, but he now calls the United States home. Even after challenges and political unrest in his home country, cattle ranching is still his passion and his priority.
Now give me a little background on you.
That's not a short story, though.
Tell us why there's so much emotion.
Wow. Let's see, I'm originally from Venezuela, and I grew up in a water buffalo ranch. I knew I wanted to be a ranch manager and work with cattle. So I went to vet school in Venezuela, and I did that for 2 years. It took me 2 years to complete 1 year, just because of the strikes. If it wasn't the students, it was the teachers or the employees of the university. So it was all the time, on hold. I realized pretty quick that that was just gonna be a waste of my time. So I applied for a scholarship, and I went to Montana State University. I went to the Ag department. I studied animal and range science, livestock management. While I was going to school there, I met my wife during a summer teaching rock climbing. But anyway, when we got here, it was basically to kind of start over in the States. I wanted to keep ranching. And when we drove up here, I found Emma and David in the driveway, and basically introduced myself and my wife and my son. And right away, she offered me the job, and I started working like the following week. But at that point, David was already starting to get sick when I started working here. So I worked here for 2 years, and just as a ranch hand. But the treatment was always great with Emma and with David. And David passed away during those 2 years that I was here. And then I went on, and I actually went to study renewable energy, just to get more knowledgeable about stuff that you need to know at the ranch. And I did that for a little while. So I went back to Venezuela, and I tried getting back into ranching. And I did that for 4 years, and that's when the situation really turned out bad in Venezuela. So we left all that behind and came back. So this is actually my second tour at the Ty Bar. And when we came back, I actually sent my wife and my kids ahead, and she ran into Emma at the grocery store and tells Emma what happened, and Emma's like, well, if you want to come back to the ranch, you're welcome. Anyway, so she opened up the doors to the ranch back to me and to my family when we came back. So this place is not only special because Emma is being very kind to me and my family. But also then, my daughter was born here. So when I started working here, a year later, my daughter was born. So she was born here at the property at the ranch too, as a home birth. So there's definitely a lot of emotions tied up in this ranch for me already. So supposedly ranching is one of the most dangerous professions out there. And it is, I would say that it's more hard work than a dangerous one, but maybe it's just because you get used to it. But having a gentle herd that is easy to handle on food, on a four-wheeler, on horse, is a really big deal nowadays, you know. Especially having a large herd that you have to calve and take care of the calf the moment they're born in order to keep a registered herd. It's very important that added to the temperament of the cow. And a cow that you can handle is a cow that makes you proud. To me, a gentle cow is worth twice as much as a one. Actually, I don't spend money on a cow that is just not gentle. It's just not worth it. It's not worth anything. We'll wreck an employee and you lose more than the cow is ever gonna give you. So the ranching way of living, it really is something that you grow up doing. You know, Emma asked, how come is it so hard to find good employees nowadays? And it's because people just don't grow up doing it. You gotta grow up doing it to love it. And when you work at a ranch, you don't look at it as somebody else's cow, as somebody else's grass. You look at it as if it's yours, because you're the one out here irrigating it every day. You're the one out here taking care of the cows. You're the one that rides the horse. So it's really your horse. It's like your cows. So if you enjoy it like if it's yours and treat it like it's yours, you just don't have the financial stress. You just have the joyful part. So I guess that's something I learned in these changes in my life too. You don't have to own it to really enjoy it to its full.
You know, Clint, Jose's story really tugs at heartstrings.
Well, I think we can sure learn a lot from Jose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To view more films like this, visit angus.org/IamAngus.
That's all for this week's Angus Report. We'll return next week at this time for more cattle news and highlights.
In the meantime, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Angus TV, for more from the association. Thanks for joining us.